Part 4, Chapter 2. Rena hung the closed sign on the door as I was sweeping up after the lunch crowd. Can I have the rest of the day off? I asked. I got something I need to do. Why not do it Sunday when we're closed? Because? We'll be back to help with dinner? I don't know. My, aren't you a fountain of information today? I do my best. Rena said. For the second time that month, I hopped the train to Hamilton, then climbed aboard a city bus. The neighborhood where I had grown up looked the same, drab and defeated, streets with low-rise apartment buildings, discount and variety stores, for rent signs, and empty shop windows. The rundown building where I used to live stood between two identical sand-colored structures, each with a cracked concrete sidewalk leading to the front doors and a lawn that had barely survived winter. I got out my key, let myself in, and rode the creaky elevator to the third floor. In the hall outside, number 4, I stopped, kicked off my boots. I didn't want to leave any sign that I had been there, and listened, my ear against the door. My father had never missed a day's work. He'd be at the garage, stretched out under a car or leaning in under the hood, wielding a wrench. But I wanted to be sure. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. I smelled burnt toast and warmed over pizza. Sections of a newspaper were strewn across the couch beside a takeout pizza box. A TV program listing lay open on the floor next to my father's easy chair, the remote resting on top. I padded on stocking feet into the kitchen, where a radio played quietly. My father thought the sound of the radio would discourage burglars. A bowl and cup sat in the sink beside a pot sticky with oatmeal. I pulled open the drawer where he kept his bills and bank book and credit card receipts. He hadn't gotten any neater since I saw him last. I removed the drawer and placed it on the table, pulling up a chair. I had seen him dozens of times sitting where I was now, a calculator and pencil close at hand, shaking his head and muttering, I just can't seem to get anywhere with this. No matter what I do, I'm always behind. Then he'd take a pull on his beer, set it down with a thump, pick up the pencil, and begin punching numbers into the calculator, as if making another run at the calculations would change something. It took me a few minutes to paw through the clutter and find what I was looking for. I scanned the figures and jotted down the numbers I wanted on a piece of paper, then replaced the drawer. While I was in the apartment, I took a look around. His bed was unmade, the closet door open, loose change on the dresser top beside the matching brush and comb my mother bought him for Christmas one year. I picked up the brush. If she had still been alive, my mother would have been almost 10 years older now. But I could only remember her the way she was back then, frozen in time while her little boy grew up without her. In my room, some school books sat unopened on my plywood desk. My bed was neatly made up, the room tidy as if he expected me home any minute. I stood in the doorway wishing I could stay, just hang up my jacket and turn on the TV and wait for him to come home. Maybe send out for a tub of chicken and shoot the breeze while we ate, then watch a ball game together. I pulled on my boots in the hall and took the elevator back down to the street. As the train passed the Oakville station, I keyed a number into my cell. Smith & Associates. It's Lee, I said. Is it indeed? Mrs. Smith sniffed. I need to talk to Lakshmi. I beg your pardon. I can hardly hear you. I'm on the train, I said, and repeated my message. Let me see if she's available to speak. A moment later, Mrs. Smith came back on the line. She'll be with you in a moment. Please hold. Don't hang up. I won't hang. But she cut me off. Got me again, I thought. I fished the piece of paper from my pocket. A few minutes later, I heard Lakshmi's voice. Hello, Lee. I got those numbers for you, I said, and read them to her. Okay, Lee. Consider it done. A week later, when I hauled myself bleary-eyed from my bed and clumped down the stairs for my Sunday morning coffee in Rena's kitchen, I heard voices before I reached the bottom stair. In the hall outside the kitchen, I turned back towards my room. I stopped, took a deep breath. When I entered the kitchen, the voices fell silent. My father sat across from Rena, a mug of coffee on the table in front of him. I poured myself a cup and leaned back against the counter. Watched closely by Patch, the one-eyed dog, Rena spooned blueberry jam onto a piece of toast and spread it around, holding the toast on her fingertips so the jam covered the whole surface. I had told her once she ate it like a kid. I'm young at heart, she had said. I eyed my father over the rim of my mug. In the morning light, he looked pale and tired. His dark hair limp, His face creased. He had missed a couple of spots when he shaved. Thick fingers curled around his cup, the nails not quite free of grease from the garage. "Morning, Lee," Rena said before she bit into her toast. My father nodded. "Hi," I said to him. He pulled a piece of paper from his shirt pocket, unfolded it, and spread it out on the table with his palms. Rena picked up her cup and plate. "Time to get dressed," she said to no one. I didn't want her to leave, but my father spoke first. "Stick around for a little, okay?" he said. "The last 2 times Lee and me talked, we needed a referee." Rena slumped back into her chair and pulled her bathrobe together at her throat. "Sit down, Lee," my father said, pointing to the third chair. "No, thanks. I'll stay here." "See," he said to Rena, "defiance. I haven't said a word on already." Rena's voice was harsh. "Look, Doug, it's been a long week. The last thing I need on my day off is to listen to you two bang away at each other. Lee, would it kill you to sit down? Jesus, 2 of you are like a couple of infants." I did as she asked. My father looked at the paper as if he was memorizing the numbers. "Funny thing happened a couple of days ago, Rena. My bank statement came in the mail. I left it a couple of days before I opened it. No use hurrying the bad news, eh? When I got around to looking at it, the statement showed a balance of 0 for my loan. The bank made a mistake, I figured. Deposited a bunch of money in the wrong account." Rena said nothing. She picked up her knife and ran the point back and forth across her plate. My father continued to stare at the paper in front of him and talk to Rena. "I called them from work the next day. They said it was a mistake. The money came in from another bank by electronic transfer. I told them I didn't know anything about it. So on my lunch hour, I went over there. They said the money was sent from a bank in New Toronto." He looked up at Rena. I thought to myself, only one person I know in New Toronto. Only one person I know who would give me that kind of money. My sister. Rena shook her head. "I never sent you a cent," she said, putting down the knife and reaching into her bathrobe pocket for her cigarettes. She lit up and blew a cloud toward the ceiling. "Then," my father went on, as if he hadn't heard her, "I realized that this here mysterious electronic transfer was exactly the balance I owed. Somebody knew to the penny how much it would take to clear the loan. Sure is strange, eh, Rena?" "A mystery," she said, and glanced at me. "I went home a while ago," I said to my father, "and looked at your records." He was silent for a moment, taking in the information. "Where the hell could you come up with that kind of money?" he demanded. "Thousands of bucks? You stole it, didn't you?" "A friend of mine left it to me in his will." "What? Left it? Who?" "I told you, a friend. His name was Bruce Cutter." A crease formed on my father's brow. He scratched his head, looked at Rena, who nodded. "He's telling the truth, Doug." "A friend?" he said. "Yeah." "An older guy?" "Yeah." Then his eyes widened. "Jesus, Lee, you're not telling me you're..." Rena threw back her head and let out a laugh that rattled the dishes in the sink and brought on a coughing fit. "What's so goddamn funny?" my father said, his fingers crumpling the paper. When she could breathe again, Rena said, still laughing, "It's just that if you saw the way Lee looks at the college girls in the morning, you wouldn't think what you're thinking." "Look, it's no big deal," I explained. "I wanted to give you some money to get rid of that loan you've been carrying around so you can quit your second job. That's all." He looked out the window, then down at his hands, then at the bank statement. Quietly, Rena left the room. I heard her bedroom door close softly. "No big deal, you tell me?" he whispered. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything." "I can't accept it." My hands began to tremble. Then came the rush, the blast of anger, the heat rising to my face. The words burst out before I could think. "Why the hell not?" Then I looked at his rough hands, his thick fingers, the skin raw from solvents used to dissolve oil and grease. His face pinched from too much hard labor and too much worry, and I realized something I had never seen because I had never looked. He was lonely. He worked 12 hours a day, shuffled from home to work and back, slept, then did it all again. For him, tomorrow was nothing but another day. He began, then faltered. "Try to understand, Lee. The vacation your mom and me took, it was all I could give her. She was sick, and she was going to die, and I couldn't do anything about that. But I could take her to the places she had always wanted to visit. You should have seen her over there in Italy, the galleries and that. She knew she didn't have that long, but she was full of joy. Only regret she had, she'd say, was that you weren't there." See, the loan I'm working to pay back, it's like I'm still doing it for her. I can still give her something. I know it sounds crazy, but if I take your money, I'll lose that. He rubbed the back of his hands under his nose and took a swallow of coffee. Does that make any sense? I sat back in my chair, turning my cup around and around by the handle, thinking. I understood what he was telling me. Yeah, Dad, it does, I said. But think about it this way. When Mom got sick, I was just a little kid. You took her to the museums and art galleries. But what could I do for her? Nothing. I haven't been a very good son. This is my chance. I want to do this for both of you. We were silent for a few minutes. Then my father said, I haven't heard that word for a long time. What word? You called me Dad. He hung his head. I miss her, he said. I miss both of you.